Welcome to 5-Minute Monster Views. I am Monster D, and today I have a doubly monstrous surprise for you. For the very first time on 5-Minute Monster Views, I have two interviewees. Yes. They are the collaborative creature creators of none other than the Molok. The Molok is a film project based around the title creature. This is quite a different film project than what I've ever seen before. Molok is a kind of a boogeyman that does not feed on fear so much as obtained memories from those around it. Here to bring you some wonderful details about the inspiration and inception of this titanic terror. Yes, I am, of course, talking about Sam Wilson and Xander Chauncey. Yes!
Thank you. I love that exotic pronunciation, Xander. I might have to adopt that.
Excellent, excellent, and thank you for the acceptance. So I have one question for both of you. You can each answer any which way you like, but I must ask you: are you in the mood for a monster today?
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
I think so. Yeah.
Always in the mood for a monster.
Excellent. Well, that is going to be great because this is going to be a monster like no other. For what I have here is my magic monster maker. And with this device, I shall extract from both of your minds a one-of-a-kind merged monster. Yes, and I shall do so, hopefully, in 5 minutes or less. All I need from you two is to decide on one number. Hopefully you can agree on a number together. Between 1 and 8.
I guess my choice would be 8, but I'm open to discussion there. Could be another number.
I actually like 8 also. Look at that.
All right. 8. So both of you are moving towards infinity. I like it. So I'm going to give it a nice monster shake. And then I'm going to pull from within. And just to make sure, is that your number on that egg?
Yes, it certainly is.
All right. So I am going to open the egg, and from within, there is a message. Can you both tell me, what does that message say?
It says nastiest food.
Nastiest food. There you have it. So, as I refurl this message and place it back in the egg and into my monster maker, I would like you each to take your turn and tell me, what do you believe is the nastiest food in the world?
Well, when I was a kid, I had a real bad thing about cooked carrots, but only cooked. Like I love raw carrots. Something about the mushy carrot flavor I just find to be unnatural and unholy. So I would say cooked carrots.
Cooked carrots. Excellent. And Xander?
Jello. I hate Jello.
Wow, okay.
It's one of those things that, like it'll get you ostracized at a family get together, because half of the Midwestern Thanksgiving dishes have Jello holding it all together. And yeah, it's just, I always hated it. And then when I found out that it was made of mostly horse hooves, it just solidified that I couldn't stand it. Can't get around it to this day.
And because the marketing of that slogan is so strong, I'm sure you had little choice but to hear it repeated to you again and again at all these family gatherings.
Oh, of course. And, I was the one that was wrong, clearly, because the television was saying that there's always room for it. I'm like,
right.
No, it literally, yeah.
Well, we'll see what kind of square meal monster we can create out of both cooked carrots as well as Jello. So I'm going to set my magic time telling device for 5 minutes, and I'm going to begin, and I'm going to start asking you some questions as I draw. First, let me pull a couple of markers rather. So
I appreciate how meta it is that you first did a drawing and then you were doing a drawing.
Because I
very
drew.
deep.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
I can't be the first
I've yet
guest to recognize that. Come on.
Yeah, I actually had yet to observe that myself. So I'm going to, for the first few couple of questions here, I'm going to take turns. So first, I'm going to ask a question to Sam, and then later to you, Xander. So Sam, I want to ask. So what was it like whenever you had the opportunity to use the Molok as an educational tool at the puppetry workshop with Leah Hoffman?
Well, to be honest, I didn't have too much personal involvement in the itinerary of that event. Yeah, Xander's more of a performer, has more of a performing background than I, and we kind of gave the reins mostly to Leah, I think. That was pretty early, as I recall, in the process of us building the creature, though. I think what I was there to gain was a little bit of perspective on what it would take a performer to actually articulate the creature. That was one of the first times I think we had the entirety of the skeleton in kind of like a free moving form with like hands and whatnot. So I think that was the value of it for me, was sort of as an observer. I was kind of filming it from the sidelines, and yeah, just watching like how the creature was shaping up and how it was starting to move.
So then does that made that one of the first moments whenever you actually had to move the Molok from its home to an external place?
We had shown it in various forms before that, but it was like, just the spine or just the head, sort of things like that. This was the first time we had a whole team of puppeteers inside of it, and it was actually moving around like across the floor and not just kind of like stationed sort of in a corner.
I agree with Sam. It turned out for all of us to be really about discovery. It was the first time that we'd seen this monster that we imagined in a three-dimensional space, and had really first experienced the awe of the actual size of it. When it first stretched its arms out, and we realized, I remember Sam and I looked at each other, we're like, holy, this is huge. This is amazing. And then we also, because of the space, we were able to really dramatically light it from the back, and we had our logo on it. So yeah, for me, it felt like kind of a pretty big threshold that we crossed in the development of this project.
So Sam, can you tell me, do you remember sort of the first or perhaps last experience that you might have had with cooked carrots that really sort of put you over the edge to never don carrots again? Or cooked carrots.
I had a nightmare flashback when you asked me that about when I was a kid once. That was probably the last nightmare scenario, but as I recall, it was basically like, I was kind of refusing to eat carrots, and my parents told me I couldn't leave the dinner table, or I couldn't leave the dining room rather, until I had. So all of my siblings left, and I was left there alone, forced to eat it. So I thought maybe I'll like take a bite and then get up and spin around. So I did, and then like about 3 or 4 bites in, I pretty much puked my brains out, and it was kind of a win-lose situation, because I did get in trouble with my parents, but I never had to eat cooked carrots again.
Wow,
that still counts.
I find it sort of funny. You both just happen to choose two substances whose textures are not all that dissimilar when in those forms.
I like to work a little harder for my food. I like a little more fight still in it.
Yeah. That would be your issue with Jell-O. It's too easy to take down in a sense.
You know what? To narrow it to one thing would really do disservice to how disgusted I am by Jell-O. Yeah, no, I don't know. There's something even beyond disgust. There's something nefarious about Jell-O itself, because it keeps trying to work its way back into my life. I keep finding myself in situations where I really don't have much of a choice socially. I kind of have to eat it.
Wow.
And I'm starting to wonder if Jell-O isn't involved behind the scenes somehow. TBD. Yeah, I'll let you know how the research goes, but I strongly suspect.
That sounds like a potential future Blue Oyster Cult album cover, the Jell-O Conspiracy.
Yeah, at least maybe the dossier will help your drawing.
It absolutely will. So
I'm there
If we know it, Jello wants.
all your Jello are belong to us. So
Good reference.
yeah. So Xander, I have to ask. So you wear so many of your creative influences on your sleeve, from George Lucas to Jim Henson and many others. Is there perhaps another lesser known influence that is often on your mind that people usually do not bring up, that you would like to take a moment to sort of shine on and geek out about?
There was a time that this person was actually probably about as mainstream as you can get, but now I feel like people have forgotten the name. If not, I don't think that they could ever forget the characters he's created. Lon Chaney.
Hmm.
He's always fascinated me because he existed at a time when film was just becoming a thing, so everything was an innovation. He also existed at a time when the actor was required to pretty much come as a complete package. So you did your makeup, you did your costumes, you adjusted the lights. You really controlled everything about how that character was perceived.
Wow.
And so he created ways, using the Phantom of the Opera, for example. He created makeup techniques that died with him. He played it so close to his vest and kept it all in his makeup chest. We still don't know how he made those creatures.
Wow.
And when you realize the imagery that he created in those moments back in 1925, or the Hunchback in 1919, I think it was, we still think of those imageries first. And even the Phantom of the Opera on Broadway is a shot-for-shot recreation of that film that he wrote, directed, and did all the makeup for. So what a powerful creator to still have ripples iconically literally have become an icon that we recognize, even though the name has almost slipped into antiquity. He played in one film the shooter and the person being shot, and the audience never knew.
Wow.
He created 5 characters in one film that were so disparate that he actually had to sign an affidavit for the movie company, swearing that he did the voices and that it wasn't fraud, because they were going to get unions involved because he was that talented. Okay, wow. I'm done. No more geeking.
No, that's great, and it's amazing that even makes me think of how much the industry changed, because I'm not entirely sure he'd even be allowed to do that these days. The way unions have shifted and everything.
No,
so that's incredible.
No, you got to stay in your lane now. You're absolutely right. Like, he would go to reach a makeup brush and be slapped with a cease and desist.
Yeah, we have been so far removed from those classic actors and performers. I feel like we might be in an era where if someone brings up Lon Chaney, if anyone even thinks about that name, that they'll immediately go to Junior, to his son, before him.
Right. Or Dick Cheney, unfortunately. Right?
I was about to say.
Yeah.
Also a possibility. So I have to ask. So Sam with your carrots and Xander with your Jello, and your feelings about each. If someone presented you a plate with sort of carrots floating in, let's say, lime green Jello, that's interesting, and put it right before you right now, what would your reaction be?
I would just get up and leave.
Yeah. Why?
No words. Well,
yeah. I suppose it would depend on the context. Like, if I was just on the subway and someone put a bowl of carrots and lime Jello in my lap, I wouldn't be shocked because that's the New York subway system. But 2, yeah, I'd be half horrified and half fascinated with how that came to be.
I was going to say, on the other hand, you might be really shocked, because that may well confirm your long suspected Jello conspiracy.
Yep, it's like the smoking man in the X-Files. Like, I knew it.
Yes, the Jello really has been following me all this time. Yes, hopefully you will not leave me right now, for here is your Jello carrot monster.
Oh God.
Oh yeah.
Yep. It's like
some soft meat.
Yes. I mean, maybe that is the one good thing about him. His bite is definitely not as bad as his the mess he would leave you.
His breath.
Yeah.
Carrot Jello breath. Yes, I could not even fathom what kind of a mint would take care of that.
I think that's what I would feel most for him, is just I would feel so sorry for his existence. Just pathos pouring out for this creature.
It's a good point. It makes
And also
makes me,
maybe
go ahead.
I'm just afraid to be in a retirement home, I think is what it actually is. You know,
Wow.
I never thought of it as a categorical fear until Sam pointed out carrots. I'm like, oh man, I hate mushy carrots too. And then it was just a rabbit hole. I'm like, no, I'm just scared of dying. Good
Wow.
night, everybody.
It comes full circle. So
Yeah.
that hopefully that does not become your inevitable fate. But I see it. You know, somewhere in the far
Oh, I
off
think
future.
I'll probably end up dying eventually.
Well, I mean, I can see in the future you both winding up in the same home, and you're side by
Like
side
Bill
just
and Ted.
chatting, and it's lunch, and all of a sudden on the same tray you get green Jello and cooked carrots right there. You both just look at each other and go, "No!" Or perhaps you overthrow the home there and.
That's
Or
that's when I would just swim out into the ocean
Yeah.
until the end.
I just go out in the woods like an old bear, like
Yeah.
growl at anyone who's trying to come after me. I'm like, it's my time, trust me.
So, with this entire experience with the Molok, can you tell me what has this entire creative endeavor taught you about one another, and what has it taught you in terms of just approaching creative teamwork in general?
I would say for me personally, this is sort of the largest team project I've worked on. A lot of my stuff in the past, I've kind of just done everything myself. So it's like, it was definitely a big learning experience, like letting go of control over certain aspects of it. And, you know, learning to trust that other people's inputs and stuff, like seeing more firsthand how the project came together as a result of many people's ideas rather than just a kind of a straight line for me between, you know, my initial ideas and what I ended up making. That was a big one for me, I think. Like, yeah, watching something be created by a group instead of just by myself.
I, on the other hand, came mostly from the theater world where it's all collaboration. And for any given production, it's a barn raising of 30, 40, 100, 200 people sometimes. What was new for me was coming from a perspective of an actor always wishing that more of my ideas would be heard, and knowing that if I were in the position of a producer or a director, that I would hear everyone's ideas and incorporate them all, or at least to some degree. And then the difference between that and really putting something of this size on its feet, you begin to see the importance of not only keeping to those promises and making sure everyone gets what they want creatively, but also really setting firm boundaries, really letting everyone know where your expectations and their responsibilities meet, so that everyone can have the comfort and freedom to create and feel comfortable in their positions. And I think really in this process, I learned a lot of how to make that happen on the film set or on stage too.
Very, very cool. I appreciate that. That sort of reminds me of something that was said years ago. It was in an interview with one of the creators of the TV show Beast Wars. He came up with this term, working inside the glass box. And the idea is, with the materials that you have, the technology at your disposal, there's always physically, and obviously with budget and time, there's always going to be a certain limit on what you can do. But within that limit, you take your strengths, your strongest strengths, and you uphold those above everything else, so that while you're constrained, the end product actually looks and feels far bigger and greater than what it actually would potentially be held back by.
Wise.
Yeah, definitely. There's also, I think this project was unique, I think, for everybody, because it was also like pretty much entirely volunteer cast and crew. You know, like we were a SAG production, so we had some of the actors were paid. Like some people received pay for their performances, but a lot of the crew was there on a volunteer basis, like volunteering their time. So that also, I think, created a very unique creative experience for all of us, but also it was like very sort of life affirming in the process, because it was like you just knew everybody wanted to be there for the project. It wasn't just like, hey, I'm here for my check. I got other stuff that I care more about. It was like everybody on set like really wanted to be there, which I think really enabled us to grow the project the way you're describing, like grow it beyond the measure of its parts.
Very, very nice. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today and to make a monster with me. Before we go, I really want to ask, so out of everything going on in your life, either including the Molok or beyond the Molok, what are you most looking forward to next?
I'm working on a documentary. I'm following some very brave souls as they participate in these ancient South American ceremonies that involve a pretty much monastic lifestyle for a certain amount of time. And then they consume this incredibly powerful hallucinogenic brew that's been being made in the Amazon for thousands of years. And they're doing this in hoping to come face to face with themselves and experience some deep emotional healing and therapy. And they're allowing my film crew and me to video the whole process, which can be very, very intense. And there haven't been many cameras allowed into these ceremonies traditionally. So we're in a really privileged position. And already the footage that we're getting back is amazing. And the end game and where we're planning on taking everyone is to Peru, so we can actually visit the origin of this medicine and sit with this, octogenarian shaman and participate in a very traditional ceremony. So that I can't stop thinking about.
Very cool. Wow. Sam, how about you?
I'm working. I have a lot of Molok stuff on the pipeline for sure. Got some exciting stuff in Pennsylvania and beyond. Working on the feature. And then, I'm also working on another feature, which is I'm producing, and I guess I'm in late pre-production for. That should be shooting in January. It's a little horror film. It's based on a sort of an old short story by Algernon Blackwood. The author? He wrote The Willows.
I was gonna say, I feel like I have heard the name before.
Yeah, he's in your vein. You should check it out. He's a sort of one of the contemporaries of Lovecraft, I would say.
Oh, don't forget to mention October 26th, Monster D.
Oh, that is right. Actually, how about you mention it for us all? Tell us about October 26th.
All right. Well, I will. Well, 3 Dots downtown in State College, Pennsylvania. That's it's the beautiful community gallery space that's hosting the Molok now. So please, all of you Real Monster D viewers, if you are near the State College area and you haven't gone to the Molok, go. If you have gone to see the Molok, I already know you're going back. So let me tell you about the 26th of October. It's going to be on one of the Tuesdays that 3 Dots already has their amazing events, their community events, but we're making it a Halloween theme. So we'll have Halloween themed community events, including a scavenger hunt in and around the Molok. And most exciting, Sam and I are going to pre-screen. Shh, it's secret. It's just for the viewers here and the 3 Dots patrons. We're going to pre-screen the Molok. It's the first time it's been seen anywhere. So you will literally be the first people in the world to catch this movie, October 26th. Pay attention to the Real Monster D and check out 3 Dots website for more information.
Yes, and I shall definitely be there, Cape markers and all.
Right on.
Well, Sam, Xander, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing everything with me. And I just want to say to you, as well as to everyone out there at home and beyond, all the monster fans, to stay monstrous.
gremlins, scary monster D. I said the gremlins. Scary monster D. I said the gremlins.
I was once a competitive mime.
My didgeridoo, one of them.
There's not much called for competitive mime. This picture of me accepting best in show.
I've got a couple, but I made this one with my brother out of a piece of bamboo.
The Florida State thespian competitions. That's right.
Blowtorch the outside, and it leaks all this resin, and then you can kind of wipe it down, and it seals the wood.
I got -3 dates from that. Celine. Huh?